Jeanne, tell us about your dog's behaviors before consulting Dog Spot.
Okay. Well, I have two dogs. They're skipper keys. This is Jack, and I have Magic as well. And they're 5 years old, and they were dog and people aggressive. What happened, just very briefly, is we found out just after we got them that we were moving from Illinois to Minnesota. No socialization, just in the mix of all of that. And at the end of the day, they became very aggressive and very, very difficult to deal with. Just barking at people, lunging at people, dogs, anything that moved. I could not take them for walks because they would lunge and charge from someone 2 blocks away.
So it was ending your ability to be able to take your dogs out for walks for you and for the dogs to be able to
Very
be out
much
and be
so. They got
social.
very heavy. He was actually 21 pounds before I started Dog Spot. He's now 16 because I can walk him daily, and it was a tremendous difference. But it felt like it was a prison for them and for us.
So what other things had you tried?
We tried everything. It was a 5-year search for everything. So we started with a personal trainer, who it was truthfully, just useless, really. And unfortunately, she nickeled and dimed me to death, and I got nothing from it. And then we did obedience classes, we did clicker training, we did all kinds of books, all kinds of videos. I got this one program where it was, nothing but corrective. So you could give them some praise, but you could never give them a cookie. It had to be just the correction. And oddly enough, that was probably the one that was the most successful of the ones that I had. But it didn't stop my dogs from going from 0 to 10. Mm-hmm. And that's what was happening with them regardless. And the clicker training was absolutely useless because it never corrected any of that behavior. It got them to sit and it got them to go down, and that was wonderful. But when they saw someone 2 blocks away, they would go right to 10. And that was the difficulty of it. And I had actually, before Dog Spot, had the better part of the last year just given up and decided that my dogs were going to have to stay in my house, and I was going to have to protect my neighbors and anyone. They were prisoners, I was a prisoner.
So you had a private with Tiffany. Describe the change in your dogs after your first consult.
Well, the one thing I think people should know, so I was so concerned about how the dogs would react to other dogs and people in the Dog Spot, I wouldn't get out of the car. So I had to call Tiffany, and she had to come out to the car and take my dogs. And of course, she came out to the dogs, they're in the back seat, barking their lunatic heads off at her, and she said, "Let me get the leashes from inside the door." So I handed the leashes to her. They jump out of the car, she tells them to sit down, and they stop barking. And I said, "Are you the dog whisperer?" And she goes, "They know I mean business." And all she did was take control of the energy that was surrounding those dogs. That's really what she did. So I spent about an hour and a half with her, and it was unbelievable, the change in them. They, of course, still continued to bark at everyone as we walked into the door, but after about an hour and a half, they were sitting next to Tiffany. People walked up to us, and they stopped barking. They weren't barking at them. They knew that they had, and with me, too. I mean, of course, I was having control of them as well as Tiffany having control of them. That whole week following that first session, I called probably 10 times and said that was the best walks I've ever had with my dogs, ever. And it was just unbelievable. And it felt like they were fixed. And one thing that I really would caution people with aggression problems is that doesn't fix them. It's a great start and it's encouraging, but there's so much more about aggressive dogs that you have to deal with. I had to deal with the fact that they were fear and anxiety-based aggression with these dogs. So they were afraid of people, they were afraid of dogs, and that's the reason why they reacted the way that they did. And it took daycare, it took training, it took, I could call Tiffany, I could call Rachel, I could call anyone here and find out what was I doing wrong that day that was causing them to go in the wrong direction. I'd take 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and then I'd keep moving ahead. It's a long period of time. But 4 months is not long. It really isn't. And 4 months later, they're walking around taking treats from people and not barking at them. That's the difference. That's the huge difference. I'm not afraid anymore of walking outside my house with my dogs, because while I know they still can go to 10, I know I can stop them at 2. And that's a major difference.
So I heard you talk about being able to get out and socialize your dogs and take them for walks. What else made you decide after that first session to continue with DogSpot?
It was the people here. It was absolutely the people here. It was the program, there's no question about it. It was a really great program, and I appreciate very much the approach they took. But it was also they're not interested in getting you to sign up for a class. They're interested in getting your dog to behave the best they possibly can behave. And the piece that was, I think, the difference between all the other programs that we've tried in the past was the fact that it was a balanced program. They shared this with us in the leadership, where you could sit down and hear the philosophy and understand it. If you didn't like it, you didn't have to stay, but if you got it, you stayed and found out it worked. And at the end of the day, it was really about the fact that it wasn't just all corrective, and it wasn't just all positive. You can only use so much redirecting of bad behavior, and you certainly can't redirect aggressive behavior. So when it's balanced, that's the difference.
What would you tell other people about bringing their dogs to DogSpot for behavioral problems?
I will tell them what I've told other people who I've recommended to DogSpot, and that is the program that makes a difference for dogs in a short period of time. It doesn't solve everything. My dogs are still on a continuum. They've got lots more to go. But if you're looking to save a dog's life, because that's what was going to happen with my dogs. My 2 dogs would either hurt someone and get taken away, or I was going to have to put them down because they were aggressive and they could hurt someone. So either find a program that's going to help fix the major issues quickly to save their lives as well as save other people being hurt. DogSpot's the place to take them to, because they do that type of balanced training. And what it has helped me to understand the philosophy. I've read enough about it. This has been reinforcing for me, but they're dogs. They're not people. You don't treat them like people. You don't humanize them, because when you do, you're weak in their eyes, and they will continue to do what they're doing. So you have to take control of them, and I have learned that the type of way that they've gone about it is so positive. It's corrective but positive. Even the correction, you get to call them back to you in a positive way. All of that makes me feel confident that what I'm doing for the dog is nothing more than other dogs would do in the pack, except you're taking control, and I am giving my dogs a better life now. They're happier, they're calmer. Before I came to DogSpot, it was deteriorating to the point where they're licking everything. I knew what it was. I knew that they were unhappy. They don't lick anymore. They're happier dogs. They're more controlled. They know I mean business, and I still have a long way to go, and they do, but it's a huge difference, and I would recommend and have recommended DogSpot to a number of people, whether they have even just small behavioral issues or very large behavioral issues. This is the place to take them.